Alright everyone, welcome back to Wrestle IQ 101. Here we are today with Nikos Rikos all the way from Sparta, New Jersey.
Yes, you are. You're welcome.
Yep. And alongside me is Derek and Pat.
What's up, guys?
So Nikos, we want to know a little bit more about your background, like who trained you, who's your favorite wrestler?
Oh, well, in terms of who was my favorite wrestler growing up, may sound a little surprising, but you think it'd be somebody not from this country, but it's actually Bill Goldberg.
Okay. Who's next?
Yeah, there's a few people that know that I might be a pretty big fan of his. But yeah, he was like the first real like superhero that I saw. My first memories of wrestling, ironically, I do not even know. As far as I know, I've been watching it for as long as I've been alive. So he was the first person that I saw. It was simple. You see him get in the ring for 30 seconds or whatever it was, beat the crap out of guys, and that was it. So it was easy to interpret. Yeah. You know,
his entrance was longer than his matches.
Yeah, exactly. He just had everything going for him. He was easy to understand. You know, the promos were short, the matches were short. He seemed awesome. In terms of who trains me, I train with Pat Buck at Creative Pro. Yeah, Pat's an awesome trainer. I've been there for a little over 3 years now. And he's been everywhere and all over. And the people that he's learned from are some tremendous names. So to, you know, get to learn from him literally on a weekly basis, it's awesome. I would like to say there's definitely no better trainer out there than Pat.
Because I've listened to his podcast, Conversations with Ryback, and he always says, like, I didn't make it in WWE, and he goes to say that they didn't let him in their world, so he created his own world. Do you think that benefited him now, looking back at it, or do you think maybe staying in WWE or getting pushed to the main roster would have been more successful for him?
Well, he also has his other podcast, the Pat Buck Show, which is just him. But yeah, Conversations with the Big Guy is awesome. No, Pat's not a guy who seems to carry around any kind of regret or bitterness that he's not in WWE. You know, he didn't give up. You know, he kept trying. And even when that didn't work out, he decided, you know what, I'm not, you know, he wasn't done with wrestling. It's so ingrained in him. And you definitely get that from spending, you know, time around him, like literally on a weekly basis. So for him, I mean, he found another way to keep this going. Okay. So, you know, he's in control of exactly his own world. And, you know, he puts everything he's got into it. The guys that he's trained, some of the names like, you know, Anthony Bowens, Bobby Wayward, you know, those guys are awesome, you know, so he gets to not only create his own world, but, you know, he's building guys from the ground up. So for him, I mean, how can that not be an awesome feeling?
Yeah, true.
Exactly. Yeah. So I definitely wouldn't think like he holds on to like the WWE thing. Like, I mean, he's created something great with Creative Pro and Wrestle Pro. You know, he's been awesome.
So does he train all the Wrestlepro guys, or is it just specific guys he trains?
Specific. I mean, there's obvious guys, you know, that the outside guys, obviously, or just the outside guys. Yeah. Pretty much anybody else you see is from the school. Just about. I mean, if you just separate the outside guys from basically everybody else on the show, they're all from Creative Pro. Yeah, for the most part.
Nice. He's definitely doing a really good job with
that. Oh, absolutely.
Did Brian Myers also help train you while he was there before he jumped to WWE?
Brian is still training. We have two locations. We have one in Rahway, and then we have another one in Hicksville, Long Island. Brian is still training down there. I think they run, we run 2 days a week right now. They run 3. I know Brian's still there. But he would come to Rahway, sometimes. I know the last time I saw him, we did like an open house where people can come check out the school, see if they want to sign up. He was there for that. And even before, his first run ended in WWE, he would still actually come down to Rahway before the school in Long Island opened. So he would come down for a while. It was like kind of on like a weekly basis for a while. And again, another awesome guy to learn from. Definitely.
What's your opinion on like how WWE is using him right now?
I personally like it from a couple different perspectives. Obviously, I love the fact that, you know, he's there, he's back. Yeah. And also too, I like it because in a good way, like it's like they're good. They're getting the right the right response they want. I'm kind of, but in a total good way, pissed that he still hasn't had a match.
Of course, yeah.
And the fact that I'm feeling that is good because that's what they want you to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to see him just because like I think he's awesome. He's a tremendous worker. I've learned from him, and they're doing, they're getting the right response certainly out of me. And he came out on the most recent SmackDown, and he was getting heat. And then when he bailed out of his match, he was getting more heat. So I mean, it's working. They're just putting it off. They've been building this now for 3 months. My mom is pissed. She comes to every show and she loves him, and she's like legitimately getting angry. Yeah. So it's working,
I like that now he has a character. Mm-hmm. When his first run after him and Zach broke up, he got relegated to NXT, and then he came back to SmackDown. But he still had the Kane and the Party Starter gimmick. They weren't really using him. I like now that he's actually talking, because he could talk.
Absolutely.
He could wrestle, and I liked this character. The face-to-facts things kind of threw me off in the beginning. I was like, are they trying to go like the Matt Hardy route or something like that?
Like Chuck Norris was another one that people were bringing up.
Yeah, and I was like, that's awesome. Like, because those are just good vignettes that they've been having. And I saw with Apollo Crews, I was like, that's awesome. Like, I like how they're making you not like him.
Well, I mean, he's an incredibly good hand to have. I mean, he was also a guy that, he worked with The Rock when The Rock was getting ready to come back. Yep. There's a reason why he was in that spot. And when he went away for whatever the 2-3 years it was when they released him, I mean, he crushed it on the indies.
Yeah.
He was having awesome matches, and besides him being a great hand the first time around, I'm thinking, too, they also saw what he was doing and realized there was so much more in him than what, they had previously used the first time around.
So, so kind of like with a guy like that's like, in WWE now, kind of like, is that like your ultimate goal? Is that something you see yourself like kind of pursuing? Like,
oh, yeah, for sure. WWE? Definitely, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think most people like that, or if not all, that has to be the dream at some point. You know what I mean? Like some people I know, I've heard quotes before there. It's like, well, I just want to wrestle. Yeah. In my opinion, it's like if you want to be, you don't just want to be a baseball player. You probably want to go to the World Series. So I equate it to, being a wrestler. It's like I'm sure you just want to be a wrestler. It's great, but everybody at least has to think they want to go to the WWE, of course.
So a couple weeks ago, one of your colleagues, Chris Payne, made it to NXT.
Right.
Do you feel like that's kind of the stepping stone for everybody else too? Because he's going to open up the door for everyone from Wrestlepro to go to NXT now. Because he's kind of like the first guy besides Tessa, who you guys knew from PWS.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's kind of opening up the door for the Wrestlepro guys to kind of get into Florida NXT?
Well, we've also had numerous guys as extras on Raw and SmackDown. One of them, Anthony Bowens, he got a tryout out of it. He was invited down to Florida. So, I mean, him, Payne, Matt McIntosh, Damien Gibbs, they've been used as extras. Justin Carino, Mark Carino, but in terms of Payne opening door, I mean, he wasn't, he was the first one to have a match on NXT. So, I mean, for somebody to see his talents and then see what he's related to and who he's related to. So, okay, Pat Buck, Creator Pro. I mean, that definitely helps. Absolutely. To have somebody in the door. And, they look back on Anthony Bowens, too. Again, where is he from? Who trains him? Pat Buck, Creator Pro. And obviously it helps having a guy like Brian Myers in there too. Because again, he's related to all of us. He's still training. So absolutely.
Do you look at something like, let's say like because I feel like WWE, when they first did the split, that was kind of like their thing. They realized that they don't have as much talent as they really thought they had. And they start branching into like, the independents, the indie scenes. Do you think that was also something that's beneficial that kind of helped out kind of like indie wrestling just in general?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, even before the brand split, they started to pull more and more guys. I mean, Roderick Strong is official as of like last week. Yeah. I mean, it just keeps, they were pulling from ROH, years ago, like guys like Brian Punk, but now it's like anybody that's got a big name, they've got their eye on them for sure, or they're signing them. I mean, it's been Owens, Rollins, you have a guy like Neville, Sami Zayn. So it seems like one guy after the other, because exactly Nakamura, because these guys, they come in with a huge following as well, and they're not really tweaking anybody either. Yeah. They're pretty much, Eric Young is still, he's still got that the craziness going on. Yeah. Bobby Roode is really still Bobby Roode. Yeah. So I mean, they have that familiarity. They're not even changing them up the way they used to. So I think it absolutely helps the indies. It gives even more cred to the indies too, to see more guys coming from there.
Yeah, they're just enhancing the characters now.
Yeah, they're really almost just adding to it. Yep.
It took so long for those guys to come to the WWE. Some of them just decided they didn't want to go. Yeah. For such a long time. Like AJ, which I'm glad he held off because now look at him.
Having a monster run.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, he's having a monster run.
I think the Cruiserweight Classic really helped also because a lot of the guys came from the indie scene. They were all in that tournament too. Almost everybody besides Gargano and Ciampa.
Yeah. They were the only ones that were still there. I don't even think they were technically under contract at the time.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think Gargano is official now, but almost everybody else was from the outside. And you see who they've kept. Yeah. Gulak, Nice. Guys like I'm leaving out a couple. Oh, Swan, Cedric. So I mean, that opened up the door enough for them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Zack Sabre to come.
Yeah, I read about him something with I don't know if it was dates or a contract elsewhere. I guess it has to do it. But yeah, there was. I mean, how can you not have interest in him?
Brilliant.
Yeah, he's probably the best wrestler, technically in the world.
When you wrestle, have you ever done face before, or do you just are you just 100% heel?
I've been face before, maybe once or twice. Yeah, once or twice. I don't go full on, face, really. It's just, I know people sometimes hate the word tweener. It's kind of a weird word because it should kind of be definitively one or the other. Yeah. But, I don't get away from who I am. Gotcha. I don't stray away. I still stay true to who I am. I just may tweak a couple things, really. But that's, I really just stay true a little more to who I am. Maybe I'm just a little nicer, that's all.
Yeah, because I remember watching you on PWS when it was on TV. You just have that look that, you just look like a heel. People just gonna, it's oh, he's a handsome guy. People just want to hate him. Right. And, you're doing the thing where you were just selling people stuff and all that. It was crazy. And I was like, this guy's a really good heel. I was like,
thank you.
They need to use this guy more, man.
I just had a match this past Saturday and, I got in the ring and it was my team, myself, Jose and Hoseby, Team España against Revolting Blob, Habib from the Car Wash and CPA. And as we were facing off, I was jaw-jacking to the Revolting Blob and he started to literally laugh at me. Yeah. And apparently, he kind of just broke. And apparently the reason is because he's I had such a shit-eating grin. Can I say shit? Yeah. I had such a shit-eating grin on my face and looked like such a douche that he just literally started to laugh at me. And that's just me. So yeah, that's just kind of it wasn't put on or anything. That's just, I don't know, the natural look I have on my face.
I think also when you're in your character too, it makes it difficult to be face too.
Yeah, I mean, that too, you've heard this before, the best guys are their own personality turned up to a volume 10 or 11. That's more so what it is. I don't, walk around like a smug, dick. But I can easily, turn it on. And that's one thing that also the guys my sarcasm and whatnot. It's really easy for me, especially if I don't like somebody, to just be, whatever you want to call it, rude or be mean. And, I've heard people say, when I first met you, I kind of thought you were a dick. And in my head, it's well, it's because I didn't really like you. So, yeah, I probably did act like a dick.
Actually, we had the opposite idea of you because we were talking online and you were, so polite.
Yeah, no, professional, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, is this the same guy I see on TV who's trying to sell David Adams half a glass of bottle of water?
That's right. Yeah, no, I mean, at the same time, though, you have to carry yourself as a professional, to me, and no matter what you do. So perception is reality. Yeah. There's no reason for, you to send me a message about setting this up and then I go, yeah, whatever, I guess I'll be there, or something like that,
Yeah, definitely. So, how long have you been wrestling?
A little over 3 years.
A little over 3 years. Yeah. Who's your favorite opponent that you worked with so far?
I mean, there's a handful of them. One of the first ones that comes to mind because I've been in the ring with him not one-on-one, but on 4 different occasions in different matches, Sanjay Dutt. That's definitely somebody I've learned a lot from, because I've also done a seminar with him, and just talking to him and seeing the way that he works is like mind-blowing. That's another guy. He's, from what I've heard, he's probably the most traveled wrestler, like around the world. So to learn from him, and I had a triple threat early on with him and Eddie Kingston, which had me just, wanting to shit my pants all day. Something went a little wrong with the finish with having a blind manager, basically, for me that night. Go figure. Sanjay comes to mind in terms of like the guys that that I see on a weekly basis. I love working with a guy like Beefcake Charlie. He's awesome to work with. For a big guy to move like him and be as athletic as him and charismatic. Love working with him. Damien Gibbs too. I mean, it's been fun working the males. Dell, Gibbs, Beefcake. I've loved working with them. I've got to work a handful of times as well with Bobby Wayward. And I love working with him. Again, he's another guy. It just comes natural to him, and he can also naturally, and I mean this in a total complimentary way, be a dick the same way that I can. Another guy too, I won't ramble on too long, but get in the ring with like a Mario Bokara a couple times has been great. Recently, I just had a match with Dan Moff, which was definitely the best experience like I've had thus far. It was at the Edison show, so it wasn't like a big recorded like Rahway show, but that was the best experience I've had so far, because that was like a true test to get in the ring with him. And I think we probably had almost 15, 20 minutes and kicked the shit out of each other. And it was an awesome experience. I love that guy.
What's your opinion on how the character gimmicks like Habib or CPA, how they get like such big pops compared to like a guy like Wayward or like Bokra or anything?
Well, with them too, there's a lot of fans can relate to them because their size. They're not tall guys. They're not, big guys by any stretch either. And also too, they're not coming out in, not that any of our guys really are, but generically think of a wrestler, you think of like the trunks, the tights, maybe a singlet. These guys are coming out in, CPA's got a dress shirt, and, khakis or slacks, whatever they are. And Habib's got, his button up, like a tendon shirt, and again, like khakis. So, but they play it up too. You know what I mean? Like, not play it up, but like that's naturally too, in a bit who they are. So I think it's really easy for them to get that across. They're not trying to push for something they're not. Yeah. CPA really is like CPA. It's turned up, but like the way that, he comes across, like, talk to him, you'll just laugh. And Habib's the same way. Like, so that's why I think you can relate to them because they're not gargantuan guys. They're not wearing generic stuff. So the second they come out, they look different. And again, Habib really goes for it too. Like, he's cleaning the guardrails and whatnot. You know what I mean? CPA, it's, they're just tremendous workers and, characters for sure.
I love those guys. The thing I had a problem with was with PWS. I didn't like Starman or the Drunken
Swashbuckler.
Like, those characters, I didn't get. I didn't really like them. To me, they thought they were a bit hoaxy. No one cut promos. If he did, it was like a robot kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like that. I like good character building, and I felt like those two guys. I mean, he was using like the Stone Cold Stunner and stuff like that. It's like, kind of carve your own niche a little bit,
Right. I mean, he was the Drunken Swashbuckler was also like an outside guy. Like, he wasn't anybody that trained at our school. I mean, I guess that's partially some of the stuff you see on TV too. You're like, who the hell thought of this? Yeah. You know what I mean? And some of the stuff that or characters that guys are coming out in, even to this day, like you see something like, I know they're not the Matadors anymore, but when the Matadors came out, people are like, the hell is this? Yeah. But also different, it's like a different flavors of ice cream thing. Like, there's definitely still room for like the over the top characters, however you want to define them, and there's room to also have the guys that seem just a little more grounded, like in terms of on TV, like a Kevin Owens. You know what I mean? He doesn't come out in anything outlandish. He's got his shirt and shorts. but there's also room for the old school, like, to have a couple, hokey things in there, whatever you want to call it, comedy. Yeah.
Do you think the split between the two shows has helped you get more wrestle time? Because now there's a little bit less people on the roster because they were bringing in some guys like Starman and stuff like that, some legends. Do you think that helps you out more on Wrestlepro? If there's more room for you, do you feel that way now?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the great things about Pat is he really does want to, especially for those who have earned it and they're ready, like emphasize those that he's trained. Like absolutely there's going to be big names coming in. But, under PWS, there was like sometimes so many,
yeah. Like Supercard.
Yeah, like exactly. And Pat would make a point to make sure that he would get us on those shows. You know what I mean? He would make a point that he wanted, the guys that he's training that have earned it on the shows. Sometimes, the way things worked out, I'd go out there and there was a slew of shows where I was just cutting a promo, selling my spot and leaving.
Yeah, so.
Now it's like I haven't done that since it became WrestlePro, and I've been on every show. Pat, he sees us working hard. He's going to reward those who've especially earned it. He wants to emphasize us more than anything. Especially since we're a talented crew. Pat busts his ass, so he doesn't want to just then not have us on shows. Like we're the I don't want to say like his product, but the product of like his hard work and what he puts into it. Like so for him to put that in there, for him to have us on those shows and some big spots, like you have Bones and Wayward now in championship matches, that's awesome for him as well. To see that what he puts into it is paying off.
Because you do like your characters like foreign character. Is there any like wrestlers that you looked at that were like foreign wrestlers that kind of study, or you just came up with your own thing kind of type thing?
I just came up with my own thing, really.
Yeah.
I certainly don't hate America. I've tried to make a point that I'm not one of those guys. I'll be glad to point out, because I also genuinely feel that there's a lot of, messed up things, that happen within the country. Like one show I decided to point out that for whatever reason, everybody was up in arms about, the death of a gorilla. Yeah. So I was kind of shocked that took and is still a huge news. Yeah. And everybody's different, but I decided there's a lot going on and this is what everybody cares about right now. Yeah. So I'll make a point to go after certain things, but I do that anyway. Like I see stuff like that and I'm like, why do we care? So as Nikos, definitely, why not point it out?
Do you prefer working with Team Hispanicos or just going on your own thing?
I like both. I really, really like working with those guys. Mm-hmm. I've known them from the start. Hose A was there before me. Hose B he came in shortly after. I feel like I'm talking about Thing 1 and Thing 2 or something. Characters for the book. But no, I love working with those guys. I've always had a close relationship with them. I love working solo too. But yeah, really, the tag team thing really grew on me. Like I really thought I'd always want to be like a solo guy. And then, we started that out and I really, really, really enjoy it. So for me, it's really both that I like going for. If I prefer solo, gun to the head or whatever, but, I do love working with them.
What do you think's the biggest challenge of being in a tag team?
The biggest challenge for me sometimes is just not wanting to be, for me personally, selfish, which I don't think I am, but I don't want to approach them and hey, I've got all these great ideas and I have to be involved. You know what I mean? Right, when I'm trying to come up with stuff, I'm always trying to make sure when we're going over all right, this is the plan. You do this. I try to make sure that I'm not taking the spotlight. I just want to, which I'm not going for, but I always try to want to make sure it's all right, how do the three of us look like a unit and not oh, that guy's clearly, whether it's, he's the leader or this guy or whatever, this guy's always getting, whether it's the pin or something like that, or he's doing most of the work. I want to make it all three of us because that's more of a unit, more of a team.
Do you feel that way also in a triple threat match, a four-way? A battle royal, how do you make yourself stick out, but also kind of make everybody else like look as good or something like that? Is there like a method to the madness?
I mean, in terms of like a battle royal, you know,
because everyone wants to get their stuff in.
Yeah, and there's really nothing to get in a battle royal unless you're like the last couple guys when there's actually space. Yeah, you know what I mean. That's really the main thing is like when you're in a battle royal, like your one focus should be dumping guys out. Yeah. So I won't even try to throw a lot of strikes. Like I just like grabbing guys and try and chuck them out, you know? Like in terms of a triple threat fatal 4-way, in terms of, what was your question about that? In terms of how do you look good?
Like how do you get the stuff that you want in without like being too selfish?
I personally, the way that I like to do things is just see, all right, what do you got? Where can I blend this in? Okay. I'm not the kind where I'm like, well, I've got like a laundry list of things I got to do every single time I go out. I'm pretty not in a bad way. Like I try to keep things basic. It's all right. What do you do? This is what I do. How do we, merge them together and create something out of it? Not like, all right, this is me, this is you, you do that. Just how do we put it all together so it flows nicely, it makes sense. Yeah. What
made me ask you about the Rumble was a couple months ago, you were chokeslammed by Sam Roberts, and he threw you out. So that made me think, like, is there like a way to get your stuff in, stuff like that? Like, because that was a memorable moment.
What people tend to forget too was right before that, I was the one who ruined the party. When Joey Ryan dong flipped 11 of our guys over the top rope. So for me, if we're talking about getting something in, it was being able to go out there and, I told him how much money, to touch it because he wanted me to. And like just going for that and hearing the crowd like, oh, he's next now, basically going to fall for it. And I kicked him and threw him out. Yeah. So for me, that was like, okay, like everybody else is falling for that, thing, literally, not me. Having a thing with Sam, that was fun. But, the next time he comes down, like he was at our table for our last show on Rahway commentating, and I just gave him a look. Like, he knows it's not over. Like when I get a chance, when I get a chance, Sam's in trouble.
And how do you feel like about maybe just not like Wrestlepro, but in general, like when guys kind of like like a Sam Roberts, he's not really a wrestler, so when he comes into a match like that, he's kind of like taking someone else's spot. How do you like do you look at it like that, or you look at it as like this is Sam Roberts, this is a good opportunity for us?
No, I kind of see. Again, that's not something you see at our shows a lot. Yeah. So I see both sides of it. If you're, watching every Monday night and they're emphasizing, which they did for a while, here's the guest host.
Yeah.
And then they're going to do something like, Snoop Dogg's just chucking guys over the top rope as if he's,
Do that every week.
Exactly. So something like that can get watered down just like anything else the more you do it, For our shows, it's not something you see a lot. Yeah. So when you see it every once in a while, like, to me, to this day, people, the way they did it too was awesome. When Drew Carey got in the Rumble, he didn't do anything that was like that crazy. He just stood there, and I think the Hardys fell out of the ring, and there wasn't much to that. And he got out, and that, I think he had Who's On It, whatever, going on at the time. So there's, obviously it goes both ways. They get they get their name out there a little more to promote what they have. And, the company that has them gets to say, hey, look, we just had this celebrity. So I totally, in terms of Sam coming out, I personally love Sam because he's also a wrestling guy.
He is.
So as much as I want to choke him, he is a wrestling guy. So it's not like just somebody who's like, I'm sure like on TV, like they don't even know what they're there for. Yeah. Or they don't even know necessarily the world they're in, I should say. They're just there to plug and promote whatever they've got. So a guy like Sam, and there was no spots that he really took up. You know what I mean? It was like one spot, like a 30-man battle royal. Yeah. So it's not like he was one member of a team. You know what I mean? Where somebody else could have been in there,
So I just wanted to kind of ask you about your character again, just because before you got here, we were talking about your character and going in between, he was talking about Santino, and I was kind of talking about Rusev, and then when you got here, you're talking about Kofi. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of wanted to know, where you kind of see, a balance of, where you see your character at.
When I first saw you, I was like, you have a mean streak in you. Yeah. So Santino doesn't have that mean streak.
Yeah, that's why I was saying Rusev.
He has more he's a gimmick. He's an Italian immigrant gimmick. And I was like, oh, I hope they don't turn him into like a joke kind of thing. But you have like a mean streak. I see you attack people from behind. I like that. I like that you can make fun jokes at Dave Adams,
right?
But at the same time, you have like a viciousness in you in the ring. So I think that's this kind of question. Like, how do you differentiate yourself between like an immigrant character with the aggressiveness of the wrestler?
Oh, I mean, where I mean, it's really in the entrance too. Mm-hmm. It's like, what I'm about to an extent, when I've got the Greek flag, mm-hmm. And now we come out with Team España, and we've got the merged symbol where it's like, Spain and, Greece, like their flags merged. So you already have an idea right away. Okay. Like that's a foreigner. In terms of where you're saying like who I would compare myself to,
like how do you like separate yourself from becoming more like a Santino, not like a jokey kind of gimmick, and how do you like distance yourself from being like too aggressive, like Rusev kind of thing?
Well, okay, sorry. So I start like rambling, so I almost forgot. Well, for me too, I'm not going to be, more like a Rusev guy because he's also 6 foot something and 300 pounds. So for me to be this huge like power kind of wrestler isn't, I'm like a little over 200 pounds. It's not completely realistic for me to go in there with somebody who's taller than me and be like, hey, so I'm going to throw you overhead and then give you this enormous and throw you up in the air. You know what I mean? Like he's built for that. You know what I mean? Same way as like Santino, he had the look, the accent down, and he also, again, wasn't this huge guy and whatnot. So, but he had a knack for also the comedy. Look like Rusev, he has some comedy in there too. Like there's things he says like on the mic sometimes that are completely hysterical. Yeah. Like whether it's a mispronunciation or when he goes to, I don't know if he's doing it on purpose, which is great because it's fooling me. He goes to call somebody, like a derogatory comment and just calls him like a stupid or something like that. So like there's a fine line, but at the end of the day, again, he gets in the ring, and kicks ass, and he looks like an ass kicker. So you can ride, look at Jericho, like both lines, in terms of like, you can be aggressive, but you can have the comedy, but I would like one just can't overpower the other. Yeah. You know what I mean? For me, in terms of the immigrant thing, that's really just built right in there in terms of, when I come out, it's basically, you see the flag. If I cut a promo, it's always, my name is Nikos Rikos. I'm here to win and make money, and the flag is always up in the air. I'm always making a point to get that across. That's, to me, like the easy part right there. And funny thing with Santino was years and years ago, before he was Santino, he was just a straight shooter. Yeah. Like he was basically like, he was like a foreigner that was kicking ass, and it was a Russian character too. And, he was, so he was able to pull that off even with his stature. For him, it was no comedy. It was just straight face, serious, almost like a Drago like. So, if you're going for both, to me, it's just making sure one doesn't, in my opinion, overpower the other. Because if you're too funny, then you're just considered, okay, that's a comedy guy.
Yeah. Did you like doing those promos? The comedy promos?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
when you were doing them at the time?
Yeah. I mean, like they were, a little silly and whatever, hokey. But I'm also a fan of comedy. Okay. So it was, I guess that kind of played into it. You know what I mean? Like a big SNL fan. So if that in my head was like, okay, putting a sketch together, then, I wasn't going to half-ass anything. Yeah. Even in my head, if I thought like, okay, this is crazy. I'm basically trying to say Team España are two women that I'm selling to David Adams, but like, again, it's just taking it for what it is and having fun with it.
I like when he would give you like $10 or like $20 and you wouldn't like, where's the change? Like, that costs extra.
Change costs extra. That's right.
And then, he'll never get back the money you gave.
No.
He gave you. I thought that was great.
When I still come to the ring, I didn't do it like the last show. But if he's near me, I'll try to grab for his pockets. Oh, yeah? Yeah. Like, as he's leaving the ring, I try to just slip my hand in there and see if anything's in there.
I'll have to keep an eye on
Yeah, no, it's something I usually go for. Yeah.
So kind of, like, with your character, was it kind of something that was given to you or something like you created?
Given. Yeah. It started, it was always going to be like an immigrant, started as something else. There's going to be like an immigrant character who sells, like, I don't know, was going to like work the Wildwood Boardwalk or something and like hustle people. So, and then it grew into defining it a little more, that, you know, you're going to be from Greece. I'm not really exactly sure where the country selection came from. I just think it's not maybe a country you've seen represented all that much yet. So it was just given to me. And then from there, it's like, all right, like, cool. You know, like, I'll run with it. You know, I'm not going to complain and say like, no, I'm not doing that. You know, it's from there. It's like, all right, if you give me that, I'll make something out of it.
Yeah, how did you feel like when PWS got like the TV deal? Because did you debut while they were on TV, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like,
as Nikos, I did.
Yeah, that's kind of like tough because, you know, this is like they finally got a TV deal. Like, how did that feel? Did you feel like you had pressure on you debuting on TV?
No, I didn't really. I mean, I know that like for the most part, I think just the highlight reel of my Battle Royal got out there. You know, I think that was the only in-ring thing you really saw. Everything else, to my knowledge, was more so just the backstage stuff. Yeah. So at the, you know, in the moment, I'm not reminding myself like when I'm backstage, like, oh my gosh, it's going to be on TV. You know, it's like, it's not something that even really clicks to me. Yeah. When we're in the ring, however, and we know that, okay, this is going to be recorded, there's definitely more focus because you have to know, you know, where hard cam is, you know what I mean? And make sure that if you hit certain poses or shots or whatever, a submission move, that you're in the right position, especially if that's going to get, you know, selected. Yeah. To have been on TV.
Was it difficult adjusting to wrestling on TV, like learning all that stuff?
No, not really, because even before that, it's not like there's like 1,000 camera cuts and like whatever the drone shot, you know, it's not like, you know, a crazy amount. But even before that, way before that, Pat had always trained us. Okay, this is hard cam, you know. So if you're going to pander or you know taunt or whatever, cut a promo here, you know, which at that night could have been a practice brick wall. But, you know, you're just going to make sure, okay, so everything's going to go there. So then when it is time, you have a camera in front of you or camera circling the ring that you know, all right, how to acknowledge them. Everything I do for the most part, boom, right there, hard cam. So even before that, we were being, you know, trained to get used to that.
Actually, it's kind of funny because you've only had so limited time of training. But guys like CM Punk, he even said this too. When he wrestled in ROH, he didn't know how to wrestle for the camera. When he went to OVW, that's where he learned. And he already had tons of experience making it to WWE. It's like something I had to learn. And he learned how to do the production, stuff like that. So is that something you might be interested in the future? Because they're really good at doing backgrounds and detail into people's character. Is that something maybe you'll see yourself doing in a couple of years? Maybe commentary or helping out with creating characters and details, something like that?
I mean, my main focus is, you know, wrestling in the ring, you know. I mean, if that's something that I can, you know, dip my toe into and explore that, like that's an element of the business for sure. That's like another element to learn, but it's not something, I like wouldn't want to get away from the ring though. Okay. You know, like I like wouldn't want to pigeonhole myself, like get into that so much to where it's like, okay, that's what he's good at. You know, that's what kind of happened to Don Callis. If you'd heard him talk recently, Cyrus the Virus, he was more so just, they kept he was so creative and whatnot. They were pushing him towards writing, but he wanted to go here and they saw him go, you know, so more so focus is in the ring, but sure, any other element of learning the business, why not? Absolutely.
Did you have any injuries? Major injuries?
Yeah. I don't want to say major, because major to me would be like a long time off, you know, surgery. But I tore, it's an awkward muscle. So for those listening, I'll just say it's basically where your armpit is. The exact muscle is your teres major. It's in between where your tricep meets your lat. So I just tried out a move of practice one day. I heard a huge pop. It was weird. It sounded just like somebody just, I don't know, cracked a piece of wood in half, you know? And I just remember like kind of shaking it off, like that sucked. And then I just remember like anytime I went back in the ring like that, my arm was numb. I couldn't lift it above my head. And then I had a chiropractor look at it. I had a grade 1 tear. which fortunately that means it can repair itself over the course of, it's actually still repairing itself. Yeah. I still have like little tweaks from that. That was probably a year and a half ago. So I've had that. I've had a couple contusions to my legs, which is like, it can only describe as like a deep shock to the muscle where it just kind of tenses up. So I couldn't bend my knee for like, like small stuff, like a couple weeks. I consider a major injury as like, oh, you got to be out for 6 months or this. Like I had to miss some shows with the tear, Revolting Blob just dropped a fist on my temple this past Saturday, which wasn't an injury, but I feel the need to mention it because I want to kill him.
Because a guy like Dave, Dave Destruction, he got hurt, and now he's just doing commentary. He kind of chose to do it.
Yeah.
Were you ever like afraid of that, like ever happening?
Let me clarify. I don't want to kill the Revolting Blob. I actually love him a lot, but he's got a receipt coming. No, one thing I've always thought of is, okay, like, train smart, be smart in the ring in terms of, the style and what I want to try out, the kind of wrestler I want to be, because the more risks you take, you're kind of welcoming that, along the way, is more injuries and stuff. It's one thing that I've thought about, like, shit, when I hurt my arm, I thought, if this is going to be surgery, like, this is terrible, because my arm was like black and yellow in terms of bruising, and it was bad. So it was nerve-wracking to think that, but at the same time, like, you realize that's you're going to have, injuries along the way. Hopefully they're just not going to be huge, but you have to go into it realizing that, that's going to be part of it. Hopefully you can take care of yourself pretty well, which, I'm a certified personal trainer. So fortunately, like, I've learned a lot over the years and whatnot, for taking care of myself and whatnot. But at the same time, it's so physical that you just can't avoid the bumps and bruises. Hopefully they're just not all that huge.
So, like you were talking about training and future projects and things like that. We were talking about before that you were working on a gym project. I just wanted you to kind of go into that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. My best friend, Ori, she's opening up a gym in the area where I live, which is Hazlitt, New Jersey. It's called Infinity Health and Fitness. It's going to be more like a personal training studio. And she's a certified nutritionist, so she's good in that as well. Athletic conditioning, we're going to be doing, she'll be doing more so seminars over there. She helps with supplementation. I'm more so just kind of helping out right now. Getting everything set up, just kind of helping her out. But, this is, her big project that I, taken a bit of a part in, but, yeah, it's just a close friend, and this is an industry that I love being in. So, yeah, just more so just helping out at the moment.
So now that you're part of the three-man group with Team Espana, you just had a match with Gibbs and Beefcake Charlie. And,
the aesthetic males.
The aesthetic males, sorry, yeah. The name was the same. Do you like working with Damien Gibbs and Del?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Beefcake Charlie, because when I see Damien Gibbs from a fan spectrum, I think he's great. Is he taking like a personal interest, maybe like trying to help you out when you have those matches or something like that?
Oh yeah, I mean that goes for all three of them. The three of them are passionate about this, and they all want to, put on the best match, the best show that they possibly can. So, and I've known them too, again, since day one. The three of them were all there at the school before I walked in. So I've learned some stuff from all three of them. So then to get in the ring with them, and I think we've had some pretty good matches so far, and hoping we have more. It's been a great, experience. Absolutely.
So, from, like, obviously you're talking about still learning and stuff. With all the big name guys that have come into Wrestlepro, have you gotten any, like, what's the best advice you've gotten from the big name stars, like, aside from Pat Buck?
I mean, there's been a lot of guys who've came through seminars that we've done. I mean, I just did one with Sanjay Dutt. We've had Tully come down, AJ Styles, Bubba Ray.
Just came too.
Yeah, obviously having a guy like Ryback around. It's tough to say. You've kind of pulled different stuff from each guy. Some stuff just seems like the obvious, but then I guess, you hear it from them. It's like, okay, that's means a little more,
Right.
Like hear a guy like Bubba Ray who, at his seminar, he was emphasizing making everything and from a psychological standpoint to as real as possible. Like, okay, approach this like you're in a bar fight. What would you really do? Are you going to backflip, or are you going to, do X, Y, or Z? Seeing having a guy like Tully come in, and obviously it's going to be a little more old school, and the way that he approached things and his psychology. It's tough to think about who really gave like the one thing that really stuck recently. I guess because it's fresh in my mind, like in terms of the outside guys, like a guy like Sanjay Dutt. He was talking about character, and he went around the room with the guys I was with, and he asked everybody to define our characters. And one guy mentioned a couple characteristics, and he's like, well, that's not a character if you're just whatever, cocky badass. He's like, a character is something definitive, whether it's, between the look, the entrance, the way you wrestle. He's like, it flows through everything you do, not just, this is the way I act. It's like, it's also the way you wrestle. It's the way you carry yourself. That's one of the things that recently stuck with me in terms of the outside guys. So in terms of the best, that's tough.
So it's mostly like more about the psychology than like the physical aspect of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, to pull from them, from guys like that, how they approach a match, or a promo, as for sure is like the most beneficial stuff in my opinion, is the psychological aspect.
How many bachelor parties have you done in WS?
One.
I wanted to have his.
I think.
I'd have Derek's.
Oh no! I mean, Wrestlepro does them.
Yeah, Wrestlepro.
Yeah, it's like they don't put it across necessarily as like a bachelor party. Like you'll see birthday parties, but really like whatever you want to put, like an event or an occasion, for sure. Yeah. I want to say one. I think I did. I think I did a couple birthday parties, but bachelor party, I think it was one. I was a referee.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I wasn't. This is going back like probably a little over a couple years.
I wanted to have the pizza party for Derek with the soda from like the commercial. I was like, that's what we should do.
Why not, man? Yeah, I mean, it's a good time. I'll tell you, the guys that we had though, they were awesome. Yeah. Like the 20 or whatever it was, 30 guys. They made it seem like there was hundreds. So I give them a lot of credit. Like, it's a cool show too. It's laid back. Like it's, whatever you want to call it, like a house show or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's no cameras running. There's no big pressure. Like, it's a fun time. It really is.
I just wanted to party with Taboo Crew. Craig Steele.
But do you really? I'm trying to think. Do you really want to?
Who's the one guy on the
they're cool. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah.
Is more than I make in a year. So I know.
Oh, Micah. Well, it's Micah Jenkins now. Yeah. But are you talking about him or Craig?
Craig Steele.
Oh, Craig. Yes. Yeah. No. Obviously, he
and Sandy Man.
They
just seem like fun.
Costs more than you make in a year, as he says all the time. They're completely awesome guys. Yeah. Not their manager Gino Gotts. He sucks and I hate him. But no, they're totally cool.
Who's the guy on the one guy on the roster to party with?
It's funny you say that. I don't like really party, or I don't drink at all. It's just not like some lifestyle thing. Like, I'm straight edge. Like I don't put it down as something. But like recently after our Brooklyn show, a bunch of guys went out to a bar, and I was the only one not drinking. Okay. So a few guys are coming up, and they're like, "Oh, this must be really awkward for you, huh? You're like the Triple H of the group. You don't party. You're just going to drive guys around." I personally love hanging out with Beefcake as much as like I want to kill him in the ring. He's an awesome guy. He is that guy. He's funny. He's lovable. He's a really good time. Yeah, really. Everybody is awesome to hang out with. Yeah. But he's one of the first guys that comes to mind. Him and Jay Enterprise. It's different when I'm in the ring. I want to crush Jay's small bald head, and I want to kick Beefcake's ass. But
is there anybody that you haven't worked with yet that you want to work with in the future?
Definitely. The first guys that come to mind are guys that are directly from Wrestle, that are Wrestlepro related, outside guys are always great, but it's not like I'm going to just hope like, okay, I hope one day, whatever, this guy is going to come in and I can wrestle him. Like for me, it's more so the guys I'm familiar with. One guy comes to mind that I love to get in the ring with one-on-one, because I've done a couple sixers with him, is Mario Boccara. Yeah. I'd love to get in the ring with Pat. I'd love to get in the ring with Moff again. Kevin Matthews. These are the guys I see on a weekly basis, you know, and I see how knowledgeable they are and, you know, how freaking awesome they are in the ring. Again, I've been in a couple 6-ways with Anthony Bowens. Love to have a one-on-one match with him. You know, it's more so the guys that, you know, if that answers your question, are more so that are close to me, because outside guys you can't, you know, I'm not going to count on that. It's not something I've even thought about. It's more so the guys that I know, for sure, and learn from.
Are there any legends that you possibly would want to get in the ring with, or current guys like Cody or Matt Hardy?
Oh, guys that are like on the scene?
Yeah, like kind of guys like you kind of want to, like Ryback. Have you ever thought about maybe?
I mean, for me, I would think about, all right, who are the guys that come around and who would be realistically, you know, a guy who might come here. I mean, who wouldn't want to get in the room with almost any of them? But I mean, you see a guy like Ryback, you know, somebody will probably look at that and think, all right, he'll crush him in 30 seconds. You know, I beg to differ. I'll find a way. But, you know, I mean, something like that. I mean, Cody, too, like, I've always been a big fan of Cody and Ryback, but, like, Cody, really, I've always loved Cody. And, you know, the work he's done. He'd be an awesome guy to get in the ring with. But, legends, really, I mean, you know, you don't see a lot of them really, you know, in terms of legend, you know, you'll see him come to the shows, cut promos and whatnot. So my mind doesn't really go there per se. I mean, if they were wrestling, I mean, who wouldn't say Ric Flair? You know, if he was deciding, you know, who wouldn't say that?
The one that I think of the most is Honky Tonk Man.
Honky Tonk Man is still wrestling.
And I was like,
that's right.
Wow, he's still doing it.
Yes. He teams with the males.
And Boogini.
Yes. That's right. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, rhythm and blues.
That's right. Exactly. I forgot. You know, I forgot about that. That's
and
right.
I was like, wow. Like, and we went to another show and we saw Jake the Snake Roberts. He got in the ring. And I was just like, oh shit. Like,
he got in the ring at he had a tag team match at one of our shows years ago. He DDT'd me after a match that we had. It was like more of like I think it was like a fundraiser show, like for PWS like a couple of years ago.
That's really cool for you.
Yeah, no, there's like small moments along the way where, you know, having a match with these guys is not going to happen. But like, you know, to take the DDT from Jake or the Diamond Cutter from DDP, you know, those are, you know, there's like awesome moments that definitely happen that you're like, okay, cool. Like, I wouldn't look at that and be like, man, I wish I really had a match with DDP. I'm like, I'm grateful. I just got the Diamond Cutter. Awesome. Why the hell not?
So you're a Goldberg fan.
Yeah.
You're rooting against Brock?
Against him?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's going to win.
No?
No, I definitely don't. But not with the role Brock is on. But yeah, no, obviously I'd love to see Goldberg win, but I haven't seen that happening.
You can do it on the game, though.
Yeah, I know. They're really like, they tell you that on TV a lot. It makes me not want to buy the game because I'm sick of seeing it advertised.
I actually got the game. It's pretty good.
Did you? I'm not like the biggest gamer. You know, like I get a game and I'll, like, even if I'm doing good with one, after like an hour, like I just can't sit there. So then I'll be like, all right, this is off. Or I'm bad. I get lost on stupid stuff. So if my character, like somebody may get lost like a really intricate part of the game, I'll get lost on like, oh, I can't get him to jump. And somebody's like, no, just double tap that. I'm like, I can't. You know, like I get stuck at the stupidest things because I'm not really good at games.
Except for like Arkham.
No, I've never done that. No.
You should.
We have a guy at the school that loves to do that. And he's really good at it. He also might wrestle in a hot dog costume now. But he'll post them and show like, look, I just made Dan Moff, and I'm thinking like, he'll never make mine because you can't. I don't think you can get that. You know, like the gear, basically. I'm like, that's never gonna.
You don't want to make like Delroy and start like beating him up or something like that.
Who cares about Delroy? I don't even want to talk about him. He's cool, I guess.
So, how did you become a big Taylor Swift fan?
That's almost like wrestling. It's like when people are like, when's the first time you saw wrestling? I'm like, I don't know. It's as long as I remember. I don't know. It's like kind of weird. Like, I don't have a specific genre of music that I really like. Growing up, I was always big into hip hop. I don't know if that's because originally I'll just say I spent some time in Queens. But I don't know, like just over the years, like just hearing a couple hits, I'm like, this is catchy, like Love Story, and I think that was like 17 when that came out. Yeah. There's certain songs that come out, and like I have no shame in saying, like, if it's a pop song, people are like, oh, you can't like pop, it's stupid, and like everybody likes it, it's trendy. But along the way, it's like, I'm listening to more and more of her music, and then next thing you know, it's like, all right, I've got every album in my car. Absolutely. Absolutely, I do.
Nikos Rikos is going to be Taylor Swift's next breakup.
Dude, she ain't breaking up with me. This happens, that ain't happening. No.
I want an invite to the wedding now.
We'll think about it. Yeah, if she's cool with it, she's like, who are these guys? I'm like, I talked to him one time about wrestling for like an hour, and there's this weird Cowboys mascot right behind this guy that I can't stop staring at. I was like, I don't know, I guess they're cool.
You're a Jets fan?
No, I'm not like the biggest football fan. I come from like a Giants family. Like I'm not like the biggest, like I grew up more as like a baseball fan, okay. But like I know everybody's like, it seems like everybody's into football. I don't know. I've watched it. I've gotten into it for a little bit here and there, but for some reason, I don't know. It doesn't hold my attention. The more I got into wrestling, like the less I kind of paid attention to, like that just kind of just took over more and more.
So where can people follow you?
Yeah, you want anything you want to plug?
Sure. On Instagram and Twitter, it's at OPA. That's OPA _ Nikos Rikos. I feel like an idiot spelling it out, but why not? Nikos Rikos. That'll be the Facebook handle too that I'm working on. That's basically it. If you want to see me post random pictures of my cats with their deformities, I've got a cat with one and a cat with 3 legs. Go for it. And I post a lot about Taylor Swift and wrestling, and just randomness.
Upcoming events too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. November 19th and 20th. The 19th we're in Rahway, New Jersey, and on the 20th we're in Newark. The 19th we've got the Hardys coming down. It was just announced that it's going to be Matt and Jeff, Pat Buck, and Ryback against the Edward Jackson 5. Yeah. So that's going to be a huge event, and we've got Ryback as well. He's coming back, and they just announced it'll be Ryback versus Colt, which will be awesome. On the 20th. Yeah, for Newark. That was literally just announced like within the last day. And again, the gym I'm helping out that my best friend's opening. If anybody is in the Hazlet, New Jersey area, it's Infinity Health and Fitness. And if you don't, I'll give you a backstabber or something. I don't know. You're gonna say something character-ish.
All right. Well, we thank you for coming through. We appreciate you taking the time out with us, giving us some great stories and your background, and hopefully we can do this again sometime soon.
Absolutely.
And
thank you.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at WrestlingIQ101. Subscribe to the page. Listen to this interview.
Yeah.
If anybody's interested in becoming a pro wrestler, check out Create a Pro and WrestleProOnline.com.